One person. No investors. No co-founder. No team.
And 3 separate SaaS businesses that each crossed $1 million in annual recurring revenue.
I know how that sounds. But this isn't a motivational story, it's a repeatable model.
And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why the same playbook worked 3 times, what the actual mechanics look like, and what most solo founders get completely wrong before they ever write a single line of code.
Because here's the thing, the pattern isn't luck. It's almost boring once you see it.
If you're a solo builder, maybe you shipped a side project, maybe you're still on your first idea, maybe you've been lurking on indie hackers for 6 months trying to figure out if this is actually real, this video is for you specifically. Not for funded startups.
Not for teams of 10. For the person who wants to know, can one person actually build something that makes $1 million a year? And can they do it more than once? The answer is yes. But the how is where most people get it wrong. Let's set the stage.
We're talking about a founder, let's call him Marcus, who's done this 3 times.
Not in a row, not with a safety net, and not with a team.
His first SaaS hit $1 million ARR in about 26 months. His second took 19 months.
His third? 14 months. And the reason each one got faster isn't because he got luckier. It's because he'd internalized a system. There are 4 components to that system, and we're going to break all of them down. But first, let's talk about what most solo founders actually do wrong, because that's where this story starts. Chapter 1: The Idea Trap.
Here's the mistake almost every first-time solo founder makes: they fall in love with an idea before they've validated a single thing about it.
They spend 3 months building, launch to silence, and then wonder what went wrong.
Marcus made this mistake exactly once. His very first project, before the 3 successful ones, was a project management tool for freelancers.
Beautifully designed. Technically solid. 0 paying customers after 4 months. Why?
Because he built what he thought people needed instead of what they were already paying for somewhere else. That failure taught him the single most important rule of his entire career: only build in markets where money is already moving.
So what does money already moving actually mean in practice? It means you find a category where people are actively paying for a solution, even a bad one. Because if they're paying for a bad solution, they'll absolutely pay for a better one. Marcus's first successful SaaS was in the email deliverability space. Not sexy. Not viral.
But companies were already spending thousands of dollars a month on tools that were clunky, overpriced, and built for enterprise teams. He built a cleaner, cheaper version aimed specifically at small e-commerce brands. That's it. That was the whole insight. He didn't invent a new category, he found an existing one and undercut it on price and simplicity. And this is where I want to pause, because this is the part most people skip over. The idea validation step. Before Marcus wrote a single line of code for that email tool, he did something very specific. He went into 3 Shopify Facebook groups with tens of thousands of e-commerce store owners, and he posted a simple question: what's your biggest headache with email deliverability right now? Not, would you use this product? That's a useless question. He asked about the pain. He got 140 replies in 48 hours. He DM'd 30 of them. He asked if they'd pay $49 a month for a tool that solved exactly what they described. 11 said yes. He built a landing page. 6 prepaid. He started building on day 8. 6 prepaying customers before a single feature existed. That's the bar. Not a waitlist. Not email signups. Actual money. Because here's what prepayment tells you that a waitlist doesn't: It tells you someone cares enough to take a financial risk on you.
A waitlist is free. It costs nothing to sign up and it means almost nothing.
But when someone hands you $49 before your product exists, they're telling you the pain is real. Marcus used the same validation approach on all three of his successful products.
Different markets, different price points, but always the same test. Get someone to pay before you build. Chapter 2: The Build Strategy. Okay, so you've validated. Now how do you actually build a SaaS product alone without burning out or taking 2 years to ship? Marcus has a framework he calls embarrassingly small MVP. And I mean that literally. His email deliverability tool launched with 4 features. Not 40. 4. You could check your sender reputation, run a quick deliverability test, get a plain English report, and share that report with the client. That's it. No dashboard customization. No integrations. No API. Just the core loop that solved the specific pain his early customers described. And he shipped it in 6 weeks. 6 weeks from first line of code to paying customers using the product. Now, I know what you're thinking. What tech stack? What did he use to build it? Marcus isn't a 10x engineer. He's a decent full-stack developer who made a deliberate choice to use boring, proven technology. Ruby on Rails for the backend. Stripe for payments. Postmark for transactional email. Heroku for hosting. No microservices. No Kubernetes. No over-engineered infrastructure. Just tools that let him move fast and not think about DevOps at 2 a.m. And this is a pattern across all 3 products. He always chose speed of shipping over technical elegance. Because elegance doesn't make payroll. There's something else worth calling out here. Marcus built in public from day one. Not because he thought it would go viral, but because it created accountability and a tiny audience of people who were invested in his progress. He posted weekly updates on Twitter and indie hackers. Revenue numbers, churn numbers, what broke, what worked. By the time he launched, he had about 800 followers who'd been watching the build. About 60 of them converted to paying customers in the first month. That's a 7.5% conversion rate from a cold audience, which is actually really solid for a B2B SaaS. Building in public wasn't a marketing gimmick. It was his first distribution channel. Chapter 3: The Growth Engine. This is where things get really interesting, because most solo founders hit a ceiling around $3,000 to $5,000 MRR and they can't figure out why. They've got a product people like. Churn isn't terrible. But growth just stalls. And the reason is almost always the same: they're relying on word of mouth and hoping it compounds. It doesn't. Not fast enough. Marcus figured this out the hard way on his first product. He hit $4,200 MRR in month 7 and then basically flatlined for 3 months. And when he dug into it, the problem was simple: he had no repeatable acquisition channel. Every new customer was coming from somewhere random. So he made a decision that changed everything. He picked one channel and went all in on it for 90 days. Just one. For his email deliverability tool, that channel was SEO, specifically, long-tail content targeting very specific search queries like why are my Shopify emails going to spam and how to improve email sender score for e-commerce. These weren't high-volume keywords. We're talking 200 to 800 searches a month. But the intent was perfect. Someone searching that exact phrase has a problem right now and they're looking for a solution right now. He wrote 24 articles in 90 days. Not outsourced. Not AI-generated fluff. Actual detailed guides written by someone who understood the problem deeply. The results didn't come immediately. SEO never does.
But by month 4 of that content push, organic traffic had tripled.
By month 6, it was his #1 acquisition channel.
And here's the compounding part that makes SEO so powerful for solo founders specifically: he wrote those 24 articles once.
They kept bringing in customers for the next 3 years without him touching them.
Compare that to paid ads, where the moment you stop paying, the traffic stops.
SEO is a one-time investment that compounds. For a solo founder with limited time and zero marketing budget, that math is incredibly attractive.
Now, his second and third products use different primary channels, and this is important.
Because the channel that works depends entirely on where your customers actually spend time.
His second SaaS, a client reporting tool for marketing agencies, grew primarily through Reddit and niche community partnerships. He found 3 active subreddits where agency owners hung out, became a genuinely helpful member of those communities, and occasionally mentioned his tool when it was directly relevant.
No spam. No self-promotion posts. Just being useful. That drove his first 200 customers.
His third product, a scheduling tool for solo consultants, grew almost entirely through a referral program and a single podcast appearance that drove 400 trial signups in 1 week.
The pattern across all 3? He never tried to be everywhere.
He picked one channel, mastered it, let it compound, and only added a second channel once the first was working reliably. This is the opposite of what most founders do. Most founders spread thin across 6 channels and wonder why none of them are working.
Focus isn't just a productivity tip.
In the context of SaaS growth, it's actually a revenue strategy. Because a channel you half commit to produces almost no results, while a channel you fully commit to for 90 days can completely change your trajectory.
Chapter 4: The Pricing Model. Okay, this one's going to feel counterintuitive.
Marcus's first instinct on all 3 products was to price low to compete. And on his first product, he started at $29 a month. But here's what happened: his churn was brutal. Not because the product was bad, but because at $29, the customers he attracted weren't serious. They'd sign up, poke around for a few weeks, and cancel. His best customers, the ones who stuck around for 18 months and referred other people, were the ones who'd pushed back on the price and then paid anyway. So at month 4, he did something scary. He raised his price from $29 to $79 a month. He lost 18 customers in the first 2 weeks. But here's what the math actually looked like. Before the price increase, he had 145 customers at $29, that's $4,205 MRR. After the increase, he had 127 customers at $79, that's $10,033 MRR. He lost 12% of his customers and more than doubled his revenue.
And the customers who stayed?
They churned at less than half the rate of the cheaper cohort. Because people who pay more are more invested.
They actually use the product. They give you better feedback. They refer better customers. Price isn't just a revenue lever, it's a customer quality filter.
And this lesson carried forward.
His second product launched at $99 a month.
His third launched at $149 a month. Each time, he was terrified the price was too high. Each time, the conversion rate was lower than a cheaper product would have been, but the LTV, the lifetime value per customer, was dramatically higher.
And for a solo founder, LTV is everything. Because you don't have a sales team.
You can't afford to churn through customers and replace them constantly. You need customers who stick around for 2, 3, 4 years.
High price selects for that.
Low price does the opposite.
Let's talk about the path to $1 million ARR specifically, because the math here is worth understanding. $1 million in annual recurring revenue is $83,333 per month. At $79 per customer, you need about 1,054 paying customers to hit that number. At $149 per customer, you need 559. That's a massive difference in the number of customers you have to acquire, support, and retain. And as a solo founder, every customer is a support ticket, a feature request, a renewal conversation. Fewer, higher value customers isn't just better economics, it's how you stay sane and avoid burning out before you get there. Chapter 5: The Operations Reality. Here's something nobody talks about when they celebrate solo founders hitting $1 million ARR. What does the day actually look like at that scale? Because 1,000 customers, even at a higher price point, is still a lot of people who need things. Marcus's answer was automation first from day one. Not AI, just boring, reliable automation. Onboarding sequences in customer.io. Support triage with a combination of intercom and a detailed help center he built out over 18 months. Billing handled entirely by Stripe with zero manual intervention. He estimated that by the time he hit $1 million ARR on his first product, about 70% of customer interactions were handled without him touching anything. He also made one hire, eventually. At around $600,000 ARR on his first product, he brought on a part-time customer success person for 20 hours a week. Not a developer. Not a marketer. Customer success. Because by that point, churn was the biggest lever on his growth rate, and he couldn't give it the attention it deserved while also building features. That one hire dropped his monthly churn from 3.2% to 1.8%. At $50,000 MRR, the difference between 3.2% and 1.8% churn is roughly $700 per month in retained revenue. The hire cost him $2,400 a month. The math worked in about 3 months. Now here's the question I know you're asking: why did he build 3 separate products instead of just doubling down on the first one? And the honest answer is, he did double down on the first one. He ran it for 4 years, hit $1.4 million ARR, and then sold it for a multiple of roughly 4x ARR. That's about $5.6 million. That exit gave him the capital and the confidence to go build the second one. And the second exit funded the third. So it's not that he abandoned each product, he scaled it, optimized it, and then sold it at a premium. And each time, the playbook got tighter and the timeline got shorter. And this is actually the meta lesson of the whole story. The asset isn't the product. The asset is the playbook. Marcus's real competitive advantage isn't that he's a brilliant developer or a marketing genius. It's that he's run this exact process enough times that he's removed almost all the uncertainty from it. He knows how to validate before building. He knows how to ship an embarrassingly small MVP fast. He knows which acquisition channel fits which type of customer. He knows where to set pricing and when to raise it. And he knows how to automate operations so he doesn't become the bottleneck. That's a repeatable system. And repeatable systems can be run more than once. So let's make this concrete for you. If you're sitting on a side project idea right now, here's the actual sequence. Step 1. Before you build anything, find 30 people who have the problem you're solving. Not friends. Real potential customers. Post in communities where they hang out. Ask about their pain. Step 2. Ask 10 of them if they'd pay a specific dollar amount for a solution. If fewer than 3 say yes, the pain isn't strong enough or your price is wrong. Step 3. Get at least 3 people to prepay before you write a single line of code. If you can't get 3 prepayments, you don't have a product yet, you have an idea.
Step 4. Build the smallest possible version that solves the core problem. Not the full vision. The core loop. Step 5. Pick one acquisition channel based on where your customers actually spend time. If they're on Reddit, be on Reddit. If they're searching Google for solutions, write the content. If they're listening to podcasts, get on one. Don't diversify until one channel is working reliably. Step 6. Price higher than feels comfortable. You can always offer a discount to early customers. But anchoring low trains the market to expect low. And step 7. Automate everything you possibly can before you hire anyone. When you do hire for the thing that's costing you the most customers, not the thing that feels most exciting to delegate. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The $0 to $1 million ARR journey for a solo founder isn't about having a breakthrough idea or getting lucky with a product hunt launch. It's about having a system. Validate before you build. Ship embarrassingly small. Pick one channel and master it. Price for the customers you want, not the customers you can get. Automate operations from day one. And treat every product as a proof of concept for the playbook, not as your identity. Marcus did this 3 times not because he's exceptional, but because he treated each attempt as a data point and refined the system accordingly. That's it. That's the whole thing. One thing to do today, not this week, today. Go find one online community where your target customer hangs out. Could be a subreddit, a Facebook group, a Slack community, a Discord server. Spend 30 minutes reading the posts. Look for recurring complaints. Look for questions people keep asking. Look for tools people mention that they're frustrated with. That's your market research. That's your validation starting point. You're not looking for a perfect idea, you're looking for a real pain that real people are already trying to solve with money. Find that, and the rest of the playbook has somewhere to run. In my next video, I'm breaking down exactly how to price your first SaaS product, including the specific pricing experiments that consistently outperform gut instinct. Don't miss that one.